Live from America's home for motorsports, welcome race fans one and all back to Green Flag TV, where we get set to duke it out for the third round of racing action here at Beer League Silly Season at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. My name is Nolan Rempel alongside Acinni. We bring you all of racing action from start to finish here this afternoon. Fen, this race set to be a good one here this afternoon as we get set to once again conquer the Charlotte Motor Speedway, this time returning to what these drivers are a bit more familiar with from the last season with Formula V, some open wheel machinery, but at a very, very different rendition of this racetrack.
Yeah, with the new scan of Charlotte, we have a couple more additions to the road course options that are available to us. So we've gone with the infield long road course for today. So all the twists and turns that they've added into this infield, we're using all of them for a 16-turn race here this evening.
Much like Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we start going counter course on the oval layout on the front straightaway, and we dive immediately into what would normally be turns 4 and 3 for the road course, taking a blast down the usual pit road. Now, this, of course, means that the actual pit road on the racetrack is situated a little bit further up than you might be expecting. In fact, that is it right there. You see the pit inboards, and that is how short pit road is here this afternoon. So pit road today is probably going to be one of the sketchiest pit road scenes that we'll be seeing all season long.
Yeah, the entry, the pit boxes themselves are at an angle. You can see that little spot where it rotates. It's 45 degrees. So it's going to be, I think, a pretty unique pit lane situation here tonight. Watching these drivers navigate these small little, almost soapbox derby cars through that pit lane.
Right now, drivers are putting down qualifying laps here. And in fact, Alex Cofford has in fact been the driver to put down a top-flying run here at the top of the boards. Let's ride on board here with Austin Tucker, and he'll take you for a lap here around the Charlotte Motor Speedway's infield road course. And Fen, I'll let you do this one because this is going to be a bit of an interesting ride.
It super is. You go immediately into a hairpin for turns number 1 and 2, back down that pit lane straightaway into a 90-degree right-hander. This is more common for what people are used to. Throughout this road course, a nice winding sweeper to the back to the left for turn number 4, and then you're going to be playing with the throttle going into turn number 5. For these guys, it's mostly flat out, and then into the braking zone of turn number 6, trying to get that car rotated. Not a whole lot of downforce or anything keeping it going, and then you get into turn number 7, where you go jumping over the curbing there into a series of slow and fast corners, all sorts of camber here through 8 and 9, and get into turn number 10. This one, a single corner instead of a pair of corners in terms of numerology of it. And then you're into the closest thing we have to a backstretch. Then you're immediately back onto one of my favorite almost off camber. They recambered it now, so where it's not fully off camber. Was at one point a very off camber corner. We had a lot of fun there. 12 and 13 immediately following it. Nice, fast, sweeping corners throughout most of the turn number 14. Getting around to the end of the lap, and then a nice, I wouldn't say it's really a chicane, but a pair of bends to round out the lap. You're mostly flat out, splitting the difference to end out on the start-finish stretch once again for a lap here at the infield long course.
Critically, a lot of those meandering corners, right, are very much off camber, and that is something I think that's going to catch out a lot of drivers here this afternoon. You mentioned these cars do not have a lot of downforce, right? In fact, these are some of the lowest downforce cars, at least in the open wheel scene, that you can find, right? Because unlike the Formula Fords, which also have no rear or front wings, these cars lack any kind of mechanical grip as well, because those tires, they're not slick tires that they're running. Those are just all-weather tires, so they lack a lot of that grip that a slick tire would normally give you.
Yeah, they don't have the traction that we usually see throughout a lot of the Formula or the open wheel cars here. The Formula Fords now kind of similar these days as well. I think they're also in that one compound, all-weather tire that has a similar issue. But like you say, less mechanical grip there. There's also less weight to these than the Formula Fords, so there's not even a whole lot of weight to keep the cars planted once they're at speed. So these guys are, I think, always such a unique beast to learn on. You guys these drivers have probably spent a decent amount of time on these throughout the rookie seasons and getting their licensing here on iRacing.
It is one of the major starting points for rookies on iRacing, especially if you're intending on going into the open wheel categories, pretty much replacing the Skip Barber Formula 2000 as the natural starting off point, as that car has been mostly retired from official competition, as Alex Cuffert's set to try and see if he can get a better lap, but he's not going to be able to do it here this time by. But yeah, I mean, these cars definitely served as the spiritual successor. But yeah, a lot of drivers not very keen on these cars because of the low downforce, and a lot of drivers will in fact say a much better starting off car is in fact the Ray F1600.
Yeah, the Formula Fords, the FF1600s are, because like we talked about, has a little more weight to it, has a little bit more power to it as well. It feels a little bit more like it's supposed to be a Formula car,
and more speed.
It's just missing the wings. Yeah, well, more speed as a result of the bigger engine and all other stuff. So as a result, it feels more like it's supposed to be a Formula car, not just a like a tin top that has had its wheels stretched out.
I kind of like to imagine the Formula V as this is like the true starting off point. This is like baby's first open wheel car, right? This is a perfect place to learn how to race in an open wheel condition, much like the Mazda MX-5s, right? Yes, absolutely. The MX-5s, they're close. I mean, these cars tend to race a bit similarly, right? I mean, they don't have too much draft like the MX-5s. The speeds tend to be a little bit comparable. But the big difference is this car teaches you how to race close, but how to avoid making contact as well, because with the extremely stiff suspension, these cars will go flying in a hurry. And then the Ray F1600, that serves as a true stepping off point. So this car is effectively to teach you how to run without making contact with other cars at all while still racing close. The F1600 is where you really up the speed to get yourself prepared for the fully winged vehicles like the FIA Formula 4 or the USF 2000, which are the next reasonable starting points.
Absolutely, and then not too much of a jump from there. You get the Super Formula Lights, all of which I think are great, like first stepping stones. But I think, like you say, these ones are great for learning how to drive around other open wheel cars without causing issues for yourself or others. Much like you said, very stiff suspension. Also, you learn where your wheels are in relation to the body of the car. And the fact that they're so far out by comparison teaches you how to plan for those and how to leverage the car accordingly. Much like you said, MX-5's style, speed and feel, momentum-based cars, much like those as well as the Formula Fords. So fun machinery all the same, but I would agree with a lot of the drivers, not a really formula car.
Of course, even in the real world, these cars serve as a very nice stepping off point, right? I mean, they are some of the perfect budget open wheel race cars, and heck, you can buy fully race ready ones from like the 90s or so for about $5,000 at some points, right? I mean, by race car standards, these things are dirt cheap. And of course, that makes them very appealing to drivers that are just trying to get into motorsports for the first time, especially on the open wheel side at the club level with stuff like the Sports Car Club America, right? SCCA being a big factor. There's a pretty big Formula V series down in Brazil and other South American countries as well. I know they're pretty big over in Europe. Australia has a few of them as well. And heck, I mean, they race well too. I mean, they just do as a result of all of the. As a result of all of the fun that you can have with these cars.
Yeah, the support for them in the real world, as well as in iRacing, pretty fantastic. So they get a lot of love, and I think it's well deserved for the style of racing. You get to learn really how to approach the limits of a car without going over it in a very competitive, but also not very expensive package to get started.
Well, time to see who's going to start where for the 15-minute sprint race here at America's Home for Motorsports this afternoon. And started on pole position, it is Alex Cuffer taking home the number one spot ahead of Jake Casey by about 0.06 of a second. Row 2 on the grid, it's going to be Kyle Blevins alongside Eric Ronenberg. Row 3, you've got Chris Bright alongside Ron Wolf, already nearly half a second off the pace. Row 4, Austin Tucker versus John Combs. Top 10 closed out by Jason Lee and Alexander Bueller. From there, it's going to be down to the field. Tyler Carlton, Brooks Clayton, Jeremy Castro, Justin Hall, Darren Bai, Stephen Purcell, Ringo Harrison, Alex King, Kyle Smith, Sebastian Close, Ben Williams, Chris Flams, Ryan Verhulst, Greg Beckman, Adam Joseph Mielhawk, Gabriel Gonzalez, Ryan Murphy, Evan Campbell, Corey Barrett, Sean Nolan making his first start of beer league competition this afternoon down in 30th. Steve McClendon will be on row number 16 alongside Carson Catlin. Then it's Chris Zofer, Matthew Dupuy, Ethan Condy, Tyler Augustino, Giovanni Romano, Henry Morse, Jordan Babcock, Todd Badol close out a 40-car grid.
A very busy grid that is coming through the final couple bends before the start-finish line. So I think it'll be make for an interesting first lap here in the sprint race. We'll have to see how they get on in just a moment's time.
Well, field starting up at the head of the field, and given that the top two are already about half a second clear of even just 5th and 6th place, right? I think this is pretty safely in the hands of Kasich or Alex Cofford if Cofford gets back on the grid as well.
Yeah, I would say one of the two of them, but you know, with how these cars are, they can't take any time to rest. Otherwise, they will get these cars rotate on them, and then they will be back amongst the individuals they're trying to run away from pretty quickly.
Critically, a big driver here this afternoon going to be Jason Lee, making his 100th start in beer league competition this afternoon. So we're going to no doubt see what he can do in this 100th start as well. The lights are going to turn on. The green flag drops, and we're racing for the 15-minute sprint race this afternoon. Lee, Castro, Flams, all with black flags would jump at the start as the field already hightails their way down into turn number 1. It's a bit of a braking zone for other drivers much deeper in the field. One car going around in the background. That is going to be Todd Badol, who goes around. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, punching clear is Jake Kasich getting around Alex Cofford early on. We got more cars sliding sideways at the tail. And we got 1 up into the air, 2 up into the air, 3 up into the air all the way in the back of the field. Make that 4 now.
Just a pile of cars that have decided, maybe not through their own volition, but getting caught up in that incident there. Justin Hall, as well as Chris Flams, Sebastian Close amongst them, as we have a couple more sliding up further. But at the front, Jake Kasich still holding on to this pretty great start he had, better than Alex Cofford diving to turn 1, which is how this fight has developed.
Already 1 minute down, and we haven't even gotten through lap number 1 yet of this infield road course, as Jake Kasich really struggling to keep Alex Cofford at bay. The field making their way back around to the backside of the racetrack as to what... Oh, and Alex Cofford getting taken out. Middle of the field. He's going to be spun around. He's going to collect Jason Lee as well. Tough break for Lee on that deal as they'll make their way around to the front straightaway, and it will be Kasich leading the way at the end of lap number 1.
Yeah, 2-second lead from Kasich to Eric Ronenberg, but the rest of the field in single file for the most part. But Kyle Blevins trying to find his way back around Eric Ronenberg.
Taking a quick look on what happened here. This is going to be into turn number 1, and well, you see one car getting turned around, and it is just carnage from there as everyone flies in and just goes hopping up over each other.
Yeah, that pair of cars also getting the wheels caught up with each other is how you see one snap around 180 degrees. That is unfortunately what happens when wheels run against each other in this open wheel racing.
For the most part, well, I say for the most part, we had a lot of small spins on that opening lap, and that's, again, part of these cars, right? I mean, they do not like being chucked to the corners. You really got to baby these cars around every single corner. They do not like being overdriven at all. Into the wall again goes Alex King, and it goes from bad to worse for the 16 entry, as now side by side again up over the traditional portions of the Roval.
Oh, yeah. These side-by-side battles always super fun to be a part of, but you have to leave the space for the cars to your left and right, so that way you all can get through it safely and not get rotated against your wants as a result of wheel-to-wheel contact.
Shifting up into 4th for the only point where you would in this race on that approach down to turn number 1 as they fired their way back around to, I guess you could call this the true pit straight, couldn't you, right? I mean, it's a straightaway on pit road. Yeah, pit straight makes sense. As the 25 cutting in, and man, that tire barrier that pokes out from the left there, that is such an awkward spot, and I can almost guarantee you we're going to have one car catch their wheel on that one when they're trying to cut it too tight.
We've seen it a little bit in practice, or I have at least, so I have to imagine it's likely going to happen again. As
these guys are going at it here for 15 on the grid, aren't they? Oh, and now caught it behind. One car hopped up into the air, and around goes Gabriel Gonzalez. And that car going to be brought to an abrupt halt. He's going to get himself up and working. Now, the reason why that took him a little bit here, right, is because that car actually stalled out and actually got to refire, which is an interesting point, right, of these race cars. These cars are one of very, very few on iRacing that actually still runs an H-pattern shifter.
Yes, it is one of, I think, about a dozen cars that I can think of in total that have the H-pattern shifter and an actual clutch that you have to make sure you use, or set up something in the iRacing client to utilize for you, as Jay Kasich goes around at the front of the field.
All the way down into the 7th place spot as Darren Bai is going to get around him as well. The only other open wheel car to utilize an H-pattern shifter in the modern era is the Ray F1600, but the Ray does not mandate a clutch. It's throttle blipping, right? So you lift out of the throttle to let the car get itself into gear, but you are using an H-pattern shifter regardless. The other open wheel cars that utilize this are, of course, the vintage F1 cars with the Lotus 49 and 79, and those ones do mandate a full clutch, but obviously they do not get nearly as much use as the Ray or the V on iRacing. Oh, and another incident, and up, almost over for the 25.
Yeah, but keeps the wheels at least facing the right direction. These cars in real life, I also believe they don't have it as well. Outside of the roll bar above their heads, they don't have a halo per se. As Carson Catlin, you see flipping in the, not flipping, I should say, spinning in the infield there.
And you are correct, of course, in the real world, these cars are very much lacking the traditional halo that you see on most open-wheel cars, and so is the Ray F1600, as a matter of fact. Man, we got a lot of cars around over here, and I can't even count what turn that is, but we got a lot of cars around there at the second half of the circuit, double filed through the full throttle chicane as Amano and Verhulst are going out, and then they got some lap traffic in the mix here as well.
Yeah, they've got lap traffic to work through, but see how they can get through without losing too much time.
Towards the front, Eric Ronenberg has not been able to break away by more than half a second from Kyle Blevins. Ron Wolf is in the mix here as well. As Blevins going to try to fight his way up and through. Ron Wolf having a bit of a poke to the inside there. Though did not commit to it. Might be able to get a run here if he can utilize some of that grass to get him working. He's not going to be able to do it, though. And this is allowing Eric Ronenberg to pull away more and more as Blevins is focusing all on defense and not enough on offense.
Yeah, I think Kyle Blevins trying to keep Ron Wolf behind because I think he senses the pace that Ron Wolf has pulled out over the past couple laps. Really closed down this gap between himself and Kyle Blevins over the past couple laps. I have to imagine that Ron is going to find the opportunity here with what little draft he can muster out into the turn numbers 1 and 2 hairpin onto the pit wall straight. But Kyle Blevins not going to give him an opportunity easily.
Thought for a second there might be an attempt at a look there, although not quite. As you ride on board with Ron Wolf in the hot dog nose machine, trying to pressure the back of Kyle Blevins. We are just now halfway home through the 15-minute sprint race this afternoon. And one of the things we talked about, right, is the fuel tank size of these cars. They don't have big tanks. At the same time, they don't burn a lot of fuel either, but these cars are not used to running more than about half an hour or so on one tank of fuel. So it is a big question, right, as to how many pit stops you're going to get in the main event.
That is certainly the question. My guess is, based on a little bit of the math that I've done so far, it is likely, I think, a 1.5 stop. You have to take, I think, a little more fuel at some point. I don't think it's going to be enough for another full tank. We'll have to see how that resolves as a result of 2.4 gallons. And Eric Ronenberg joining those that have spun in turns number 12 and 13.
Chris Bright,
like you said,
sorry, Chris Bright looked like he had a bit of a moment as well because he's also lost the spot to Alexander Bueller immediately afterwards.
Yeah. Chris Bright having a moment. Ethan Kahn also joining those that have had a moment there on turn number 14, or excuse me, 12 and 13. Yeah, like you said, when we were talking about this early on, the off-camber corner is catching many people out, including Carson Catlin once again.
On board with Wolf once more as Wolf continues to apply pressure to the 248. 0.4 of a second between the two, and this is a problem, right? He's able to follow Kyle Blevins reliably enough. He just needs to actually try to find a way around him. And also the battle for the final spot to transfer over to pole position with the top 12 invert is on, as well as Ryan Verhulst fighting back Austin Tucker and Brooks Clayton.
Yeah, Ryan Verhulst really pushing that.
As Condi and King, look at that, they may have just had a bit of an issue here.
I think so.
Take a look at this one more time. There is Ethan Condi finding the turn 2 wall, and nowhere for Alex King to go.
Yeah, Alex King having a rough time getting wrapped up in some of these incidents for other positions, but this battle for the transfer spot, I think, is one to keep an eye on. Ryan Verhulst really defending this spot from Austin Tucker and Brooks Clayton. But Brooks Clayton has a great over-under here going into the pit wall straight. We'll see if he has enough. Not quite.
Well, he tried for it, just wasn't able to make it work, and Ryan Verhulst maintains the number 12 spot for the time being with under 5 minutes to go in the sprint.
Really leveraging defense and making that car as wide as possible throughout a lot of these corners, and that's such a huge part of the driving defensively.
Up front, Eric Ronenberg closing back in on Chris Bright as well. He wants to try to make a look at it. Darren Bai and Ringo Harrison also in the mix. And then, of course, this fight for 12th quickly becoming a 4-way fight as John Combs slowly getting reeled into the battle as well from the pace.
Yeah, having clean air and no drivers to fight will give John Combs a great opportunity here to catch up to them and bring the fight back. But Ryan Verhulst running wide. Might see Austin Tucker end up getting around him here on the start-finish stretch.
Well, maybe not. Ryan Verhulst going defensive, not leaving the door open. Romano with the fastest lap of the race, and Austin Tucker will have to try to go over the over-under, but that still gives the advantage to Verhulst on the line. They're side by side coming down to turn 2. Austin Tucker going to blink first, and Verhulst continues to maintain the number 12 spot.
I feel like I should start taking notes here. Rather solid defensive strategies here that are really, I think, leveraging the momentum-based driving style of this car to its advantages for Ryan Verhulst as we are riding along with Brooks Clayton, right?
Oh boy, hold on. That's going to open up the door for John Combs to look down the inside here. And the chicken runners machine probably going to have an effort if he was in the third gear, but he was in the second, so he had to waste some time shifting up. But he's going to try to get him here as Brooks Clayton left vulnerable. Here comes John Combs trying to look down the inside, but he gets unsettled on the curbs and is forced to lift out. And now they're both going to go around.
Tandem.
Both cars go around simultaneously. They're both going to drop 2 spots, and Ryan Verhulst under 5 from Austin Tucker up the road.
Yeah, Ryan Verhulst also having a terrible exit out of turn number 14 here. We'll see them go through that fast left, right, side by side. Keeps it together. I feel like Austin Tucker's starting to get a little impatient with just a couple minutes remaining in this session.
2 laps to go. Austin Tucker once again looking back to the inside line as you ride on board. Look at how close Verhulst cuts off the nose of the 243. And Tucker going to have to try this one again as he is going to draft all the way to the back bumper. Looks for the inside into turn number 4. Up onto the ending cut curb, and he's going to go around. And I have to say, I think Verhulst was really pushing the limits of what was fair defensive driving, at least putting it gently.
I think there could have been more room left. I don't think there was a specific moment where he didn't give him at least enough space.
Final lap this time by. You see Barney the Flatman waving the doctor's jacket as Kyle Blevins and Ron Wolf duck down to the turn number 1. Now the question is, will they be getting a battle on for the lead before the end of this one?
I mean, I think it's a battle that's not stopped, but we'll have to see how it evolves over the next minute and a half lap time.
While that's going on, Henry Morris, Ringo Harrison, Jake Kasich scrapping it out here as well, and they're going to look for 3 wide here as Harrison with a flicker there, and that lets Henry Morris get through, and he's going to break around Jake Kasich as well. All the while, Ron Wolf continues to pressure Kyle Blevins, Ron Wolf pressuring Kyle Blevins.
You got it right. Let's see, coming through out of turns numbers 12 and 13. Excuse me, going into 12 and 13.
He's going to take a big Hail Mary here from Ron Wolf. He's going to have to try something desperate as he's going to maybe make a look here into the final braking zone. And from here, it is just all out drafting down to the start-finish line. Kyle Blevins going to walk away with the sprint race win. And Ryan Verhulst has spun out from the final transfer spot. That's going to give it to Tyler Augustino. While other contenders behind trying to make efforts here, and they are not going to be able to get there. Take a look at what happened to Ryan Verhulst.
These off-camber corners, a little bit of curb. That is too much. Will unsettle it.
And the party seems to be in NASCAR 4.
I would say it used to be in NASCAR 4 and is now spread out all over NASCAR's turns 4 and 3.
Oh, they found a leading edge on the inside that they can have some fun at. See that down there?
Boy. Yep.
Right about there. There we go. They found some spots to have some fun at.
Mm-hmm. I think Giovanni Romano's stuck in the tire barrier.
Well, he has taken a toe to pit road, so I think you're correct. I think he was. Oh, he is.
Oh, I think he still is.
Yeah, there he is. He's right in there. He's in the safer barrier. Yeah, he's like wedged underneath it.
Mm-hmm. One tire, I think, is stuck inside of it.
Nice.
There's an upside down.
Well, we got the race results coming on up here for your sprint racing action here this afternoon, and boy. Bit of a wild ride here that we had to kick off the first bout of racing here. Kyle Blevins taking home the win. He'll restart 12th. Coming up for the sprint race in just a moment. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where the main event is set to kick off in just a few moments. If you're watching the World Series right now, game currently top of the 7th, tie 3-1 in the Dodgers versus Blue Jays for game number 5. But for the time being, fan, we got a race to call here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And it was a bit of a wild sprint race to kick things off, and I'm excited to see what the 1-hour main event has in store for us.
I'm also really interested to see, because that's when we're going to see the pit lane get utilized, as disjointed as it is, as well as get to see how these drivers fare when we throw a safety car, a code 69 into play as well.
About 36 seconds are left. We saw quite the fight for the lead there. Alex Crawford and Jake Case were both looking to try to run away with this one, but they both encountered problems being spun early on. And I think that goes to show, right, even the best drivers in this league, even they're not safe from the challenges of this Formula V and what it brings about.
Certainly not. It's one of those things where it really relies on driver skill and consistency to make the most of it and not pushing it. Like you say, this car does not like to be overdriven, I would say, by any stretch of the imagination. Underdriving it sometimes is the best way to drive these. So we'll have to see how they fare here in just a moment's time.
And of course, it's the fact that when these cars do start to go around, there's absolutely no recovering it. It doesn't even give you a chance, even at the lower speeds. All of that is going to take us around to racing action here this afternoon. So let's take a rundown of what the starting grid looks like for the 1-hour main event. Agostino starts on pole position after finishing 12th in the sprint. He's alongside Kyle Smith. From there, it's Ringo Harrison and Giovanni Romano. Row 3, you got Jake Case and Henry Morse. From there, row 4, it's going to be Darren Mai alongside Chris Bright. Row 5, Holdy Rongenberg and Bueller. And at the end of the top 12 invert, it's runner-up Ron Wolf alongside sprint race winner Kyle Blevins. Moving down to the field, then you got Corey Barrett, John Combs, Brooks Clayton, Justin Hall, Evan Campbell, Stephen Brissell, Adam Joseph Milhot, Tom Badol, Sean Nellen, Ryan Verhulst, Austin Tucker, Ryan Murphy, Ben Williams, Chris Zofer, Matthew Dupuis, Carson Catlin, Alex King, Gabriel Gonzalez, Tyler Carlton, Greg Beckman, Ethan Conley, Jason Lee, Jeremy Castro, Sebastian Close, Chris Flams, Alex Cover, Steve McClendon, and Jordan Babcock round out the 40-car field.
Hopefully turns number 1 and 2 will be equally as clean as they were in the sprint race. But now that I've said something, obviously I've made it not the case.
Once again, the biggest driver here that is having a run here this afternoon going to be Jason Lee, making it a 100th start in the beer league. It is a legendary statistic for Jason Lee. He is, of course, joining the likes of Austin Tucker, Eric Ronenberg, Jimmy Castro, Giovanni Romano, and Tyler Agostino. Only the 6th ever driver in beer league history to hit that milestone. Brooks Clayton is the next one up. Only 5 starts off of that number, and Alex Topper, hot in his heels, only 1 start back from that number as well. So a big day and a big milestone for Jason Lee. Drivers that hit that number in this season include Austin Tucker, in fact, as a matter of fact, right? So Austin Tucker being able to get that number up there as well. And, well, we're about set to go to Green Flag Racing here this afternoon.
All the 100 drivers will see their 100th start, I think, is a very fantastic feat and also super fun to spend time with the league and drivers that you know for that long.
Well, some drivers not making it to the call as the revs start to build. A lot of noticeable absentees, and it's go, go, go here this afternoon from America's home for motorsports. Diving down into turn number 1. We'll see who gets away well. Agostino well clear at the end of the field as everyone else funnels down 2 by 3 wide into the opening corner. And for the most part, everyone has gotten through that clean. And now the question is, can they do the same through turn 2?
It's looking good so far.
This time, no major pileup like we saw, and this field looking to be relatively smooth sailing.
They've had so far a clean start. The lap isn't over yet. We can still have lap 1 shenanigans occur.
Oh, of course.
But it's looking good.
Tell you what, a stellar race that we are having so far here to kick this one off at the very least, as you look to the fight for the race lead between Ringo Harrison and Tyler Augustino. Between the two of them, a minute down on the clock and 59 to go, and we're about to be 1 lap down as well.
1 lap down, but somebody who is going to have to spend some time recovering that is going to be Kyle Smith, who is spun out there in turns 12 and 13. Curbing catching him out early. Hopefully he has plenty of time to recover and learn not to put so much wheel on the curbs next time.
Through the flat-out chicane, that left-right flick to get yourself back onto the main oval. Hasn't caught anybody out so far today, although I think it may have just caught out Matthew Dupuis on his blast down the front straightaway as, well, we are officially in the books for lap number 1. Look at this 3-wide battle deep in the pack as they go down to the turn number 1 for the second time today. We got a mess coming out of the first corner, and there's going to be the Cardinals. Oh, my goodness, and we got one upside down, and that is... Can't tell who that
Greg
was
Beckman?
that went flying.
I think it was Greg Beckman that went flying, almost landed upside down, and then flipped back onto the wheels when he made contact with the grass.
It was Giovanni Romano that went up and over, actually.
Oh.
So obviously he has been reset to pit road as a result of the melee there, and that is why we see him at the head of the board. He is not going to stay there, though, as he kind of broke the scoring loop a little bit on that deal. Let's try to take a look back and see if we can figure out what's happened here.
Ryan Verhulst gets spun here, impacts with
And then
Dupuis and Alex King.
right there,
Shoot back across.
and Romano goes upside down, and he slides all the way on his roof to the opposite side of the racetrack and ends up back on the front straightaway. And that's probably what broke the scoring loop there temporarily, as that has now been corrected, and Augustino is back on top.
Augustino still in this mad duel for the lead, but the train of cars behind them currently working their way through turns number 3 and 4. Being led off by Jake Kasich.
And further down the field, Corey Barrett, John Combs scrambling here as Justin Hall trying to fight his way through as well. And for the time being, this one looks to be relatively in safe hands here. And side by side as well up the road for 4th.
Eric Cronenberg trying to get around both Chris Bright and Darren Bai in 2 turns, but hasn't done it just yet.
Double file for 4th and for 6th as they fight their way into turns. I think you said this is 13 and 14, and then now working our way around towards 15 for that blast back onto the oval. Side by side through always can be a bit of a sketchy moment, as they're not going to be deterred, though. As up over the curb goes Darren Bai alongside with Eric Cronenberg as they fight down to the turn number 1. Cronenberg going to hold clear, and here comes Ron Wolf to skate through as well.
Ron Wolf on a tear, already up 5 positions from where he started after that inverse of the top 12. And Justin Mailhot going around, as well as John Combs
and
Austin Tucker.
Problems there as that was John Combs actually getting into Corey Barrett again. Now, that was nothing he could do. If you were looking closely, he was struggling to keep the car going a straight line because the game hadn't repaired that car yet. Remember, damage is off, but it does take a few seconds to get damage repaired. His whole axle was broken, though, and he was unable to hold it out of Corey Barrett before the car got repaired.
Unable to do so, and that is where that spin unfortunately finds himself. Tyler Carlton, as well as Stephen Purcell, joining those that have had a spin.
Oh, and now second place runner Harrison goes off the road as well. And that ends the battle for the lead for the time being. And once again, we've got multiple cars that are around. And that time it's Mailhot, Morse, and more.
Todd Madole, I think, having a slow run as well.
Carson Catlin, too.
Yeah.
Take a look. This is going to be a coming together of Carlton and Catlin, and that Stacks up a couple of them, and oh boy, and almost over goes the 43. Did a good job to clear the racetrack, though, before the next train of cars caught them.
Absolutely. One thing I've noticed, and I think I'm curious to see if this is a thing that is happening all the time, but unless you damage the axle so the whole wheel resets, you can pop a tire and therefore get a meatball.
You can, but the meatball automatically gets cleared once that tire popping is resolved.
The tire, that is true. From what I just saw with Tabadol, I didn't see the tire fix until he smashed the whole axle.
Yes, I did see he got a meatball flag. He does not have it anymore, though. He got cleared effective immediately. So I'm assuming that's how that pans out for these guys. As well, the fight's going to continue for second place here, as the Code 69 window is very much open this afternoon. Gabriel Gonzalez has just gone around to the back end of the field as well with the number 25, so he's going to tumble down the order. Welcome along, by the way, for those tuning in from the Premier Sim Racing Outlet Motorsports Truck Series at the Phoenix Racing over in Avondale, Arizona. The Highline Diecast Collectible Speed Cup Series will also be at Phoenix this coming Thursday as well, tomorrow night in about 24 hours.
Phoenix is, I think, one of the few tracks I enjoy in the oval world. I know this isn't super relevant to Formula Beast, so we move on.
Evan Campbell and Austin Tucker now going 10th and 11th. As Tucker set to close the back of Evan Campbell. And Tucker to the left-hand side, trying to go around the long way into turn number 4 and through turn 5. I'm getting the hang of this corner counting now, as Campbell and Tucker, they'll remain nose to tail in the final spot for the top 10 fight.
Continue to do so, and you're getting a good hang of this. Thankfully, it's a pretty easy one once you realize that all of the big corners are just labeled in pairs and then in singles and then pairs and then singles, and then you've got it. It's only 16.
And here is John Combs as he struggles. Oh, and around goes Ethan Condy, tail of the field. So Condy spins off the road right as John Combs is seeking to attack Carson Catlin in the midst of the same battle pack here. And John Combs going to slip through on Catlin, goes down the inside and he gets around him.
Yeah, Ethan Condy finding the curbing there on the outside of the corner. As we saw, I think, another car lose out a couple positions there.
All the while, the fight for fifth starting to develop, as well as Tyler Augustino set to make a run at it here as well. And in fact, down the inside goes Kyle Blevins. The sprint race winner continues to move up through the field as he fights his way around by. Just in time to dive into the infield where it's oh so difficult to get a pass going.
Yeah, it's super difficult. These drivers are super close to each other. You got to be careful on the curbing. You can either bottom these cars out or lose what little traction you do have. As we've seen a number of cars go around as a result of it. Chris Wright almost getting in the wheels of Brooks Clayton amongst that.
And Darren By getting a bit tangled up in that mess as well. And that's allowing for Kyle Blevins to pull away with the fifth place spot. At the head of the field, side by side, the approach of the chicane, it's Jake Kasich and Ron Wolf are going to go side by side. And Ron Wolf still has a wheel down the inside of him into turn 1. This is going to get dicey here. Hard on the brakes. Who's going to brake later? Ron Wolf use momentum to take the spot away, but some more momentum from the outside keeps Jake Kasich in the fight down to turn 2.
The inner, one of those things where the outer line has more speed, but the inner line has the rotation, which keeps them ending up in a similar fight, and they just keep running too wide, which will slow them down as they get into the more technical second half of this lap. Ron Wolf gets the job done for the moment.
Well, sooner or later, something is going to have to give here as Ron Wolf this time officially clears from Jay Casey, and that allows us to jump right back to Brooks Clayton, who just got around Darren By with that 22 car as well, and just up the road to them. The fight for the lead, Agostino, only a quarter of a second, back to Eric Ronenberg.
Yeah, Tyler Agostino running 25.02 as his best, 25.46 for his last lap. Sees about a second gap between himself and Eric Ronenberg in terms of Eric Ronenberg's speed, about a second on the lap faster. So I have to imagine Eric Ronenberg's going to look for the pass here coming up pretty soon. As he shotguns it down the inside into turn number 1.
Agostino trying to hold momentum around the outside. He can do that if he can be quick enough, but he runs too wide on the exit of the corner, but that he lets him keep it in there still. Foot to the floor as Eric Ronenberg, I think, may have missed the shift there, coming back down the straightaway, and Tyler Agostino fends him off into turn 2. Back around the outside for 3. Agostino still holds the inside. Now this is right around where they got single file last time, and they're going to get single file here again as Eric Ronenberg keeps him at bay.
Tyler Agostino looking for that over-under, trying to get the speed to go around. Eventually has to yield the position as he would otherwise run into Eric Ronenberg trying to make the corner for turns numbers 5, 6, and 7.
Well, the fight going to keep on here as Ronenberg, Agostino, Wolf, Kasich, Blevins running 1 through 5. And it's looking like for the time being, this fight for the lead going to draw to a close as Agostino has got to worry more about Ron Wolf on defense.
Yeah, all 5 of these cars now trying to play a bit of strategy, trying to figure out where they want to be if and when the Code 69 rolls around. I think Ron Wolf is going to try to get up as far as he can, knows he has the pace over Tyler Agostino as well. So he's looking for that opportunity. Meanwhile, Tyler Agostino is trying to see what he can learn from Eric Ronenberg just up the road.
Ronenberg, Agostino, Wolf, and more continuing to fight this one out as... Well, here we go. Still less than half a second between all the drivers from first on back to 5th, and this is not the only group that's like this, right? I mean, look at this fight between Combs, Close, and King from 24th to 26th. Just in front of them, Henry Morse launching an offensive on Gabriel Gonzalez for 20th.
Great lunge up the inside there for Henry Morse. We'll see him get that position away from Gabriel Gonzalez. And he's looking to also see if he can get past Sean Nealon. Oh, Sean Nealon keeping hold of that car so that way it doesn't spin out in front of Gabriel Gonzalez. But the pass completed for Henry Morse as he makes his recovery drive back up the order from where he spun earlier.
Well, Ron Wolf now down the inside of Agostino. Ron Wolf wants to try and see if he can fight it out for some of the top spots here.
JK is going to make it 3 wide.
He backs out. He realized that was not going to work for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 wide would work if there wasn't a massive tire bundle there to stop you.
That and potentially take whatever car is running into that tire barrier and throw it across the other 2 cars that are going 3 wide and make a big old pile up that I don't think anybody wants.
Quarter of this race is down, 15 minutes down, 45 to go. And this fight for the lead is showing no signs of going away anytime soon. Got this fight as well starting to pick up here for 11th place. This is Evan Campbell, and he's got Alex Crawford charging through the field behind him after Crawford started for the tail of the grid.
Yeah, Alex Crawford as well as Jason Lee, both right behind Evan Campbell. See if he can keep that up, but about in terms of the numbers, Evan Campbell's a little bit slower than both of these drivers in a vacuum, so I wonder if he has some defensive driving up his sleeve to neutralize that pace difference.
And up front, Ronenberg continues to fight this one out as the battles continue to be hotly contested down through the field. And there we go. Ron Wolf to the inside of there. Ronenberg, he wants to go for the lead of the race. We knew Wolf was going to be quick. And it was only a matter of time before he caught Eric Ronenberg. So Ron Wolf gets clear. And now Ronenberg's got to try to find some extra pace to fight back after him alongside Agostino and Kasich.
Oh. Yeah, Ronenberg hit the inside tire barrier of turn number 3 right before he got passed by Ron Wolf, which is how that pass got initiated. Had to go back and try to figure out. I was like, that is a different speed that he's going than what I expected him to through that corner. That is why, with that inside hit, you see him be in second instead of first.
So Ron Wolf going to continue to keep up the fight here. 43 minutes to go, and he's not going to be let down to rest easily here. As here comes Eric Ronenberg fighting back down to the inside. One lap later, and Ronenberg picks off the 119. So an easy run there for Ronenberg. As Agostino, situated back in third, still cannot find a way to break into the fight with the top two. It's really between Wolf and Ronenberg, and everyone else is just kind of being pulled along for the ride.
For the moment, though, I think they're all kind of waiting for the opportunity there for the mistakes to happen once again for both Ronenberg as well as Ron Wolf to end up back on the top of this pile. So I think they're taking their opportunity, doing a little bit of fuel saving, trying to maximize the opportunities coming up with plenty of time still remaining.
Oh, hold on here. Look out. It's Evan Campbell
gosh.
trying to spin the car around. The tires caught, though, more than he anticipated. That's the thing with these cars, right? They just don't have the power to spin themselves back around. I mean, you got to remember, right? I mean, how much power does an RC Formula V have? Let me check this real quick.
It's like 75.
It's not a lot.
Horsepower. No, it's not much.
69 brake horsepower.
Oh,
Running a 1.4
nice, okay.
liter Volkswagen engine.
So yes, not a very powerful machine, not very heavy, so it ends up still having a bit of speed to it, you know, even when it's fully loaded with a driver and fuel. But
and they're ready to go at it again as Eric Ronenberg looked for the inside. Ron Wolf was able to take the lead right back. Boy, what a fight these guys are having here this afternoon. This is absolutely stellar for the lead of the race, and it's going to keep on going all the way through this race, showing no signs of going away anytime soon.
Absolutely not. Both, you know, Tyler Agostino hanging out right behind him, found his pace as well, just hanging out, waiting for these drivers to make a mistake to capitalize on it once again. Jake Kasich, Kyle Blevins also waiting in the wings for this to run amok or get the better pit cycle if and when the Code 69 window happens. Not the window, but the actual Code 69.
On board with Agostino as he goes up and over the rise. And Ronenberg maintains that run in second for now, but Ron Wolf is right there, still very much within striking distance as they swing back up and around towards turn number 1. Look at how closely they're flirting with those tire barriers, right? I mean, they are pushing it for everything they got to try and cover off the rod. Ronenberg with a look to the inside, can't get there in a 1.
No, not enough distance there to cover. Ron Wolf holds on to it for another lap, but like you see there, Eric Ronenberg gets so close both to the wall as well as the gearbox of Ron Wolf, and that Formula V right in front of him. Keeps a little bit of space going into the braking zone, though. You don't want to be right on top, otherwise you'll get caught up if they have a spin of their own.
Oh, he tried for a lunge there in the middle of the infield section, didn't he? Ronenberg really sent it in deep. Ron Wolf still able to fight this one out. That does buy him some breathing room, right? He's now up to 0.4 of a second.
It's going to increase a little bit more as we get into the back half, as Eric Ronenberg has to refine the rhythm. Such a section that builds off the momentum and keeping pace through all of these corners, especially with these cars. It's all about how much speed, that you can keep into a corner as well as out of it. And the gap is going to open and close for them, but a little ways back.
Back a long way.
As well. Yeah, sorry, long ways back.
This is down to 27 at this point.
And Ryan Verhulst all just swapping positions. Oh,
no, all three of them go around.
No, thankfully Ryan Verhulst is able to keep it, but only barely, but still slows down as both Carson Callan and I believe Sebastian Close find their way around.
So Jason Lee and Alexander Bueller keeping up the battles here as they fight their way back into the middle porch of the racetrack. Was looking back to the other battles, and lo and behold, of course, as soon as we look back at that one, nope. You're gonna go back to the leaders now because we're gonna all crash ourselves out here. Yeah. But Ron Wolf continued to keep up the fight here, and no code 69 cited. I'm almost not wanting one at this point because this fight is so good. I don't want it to go away.
I don't know that it will. It may just change hands on who has the front of this pack versus who is in the middle, because I would have to imagine they all have to come in for roughly the same amount of fuel and maybe tires. I don't know if it's worth it to say tires. They're pretty slow if I remember correctly. Plus, they're pretty long lasting. I think you could probably do an entire race here. I mean, I guess they're also meant for 30-minute sprint races, which might be a little bit different than an hour-long endurance.
Around goes Sean Nolan, making his beer league debut here this afternoon at the 8:37. A tough break for him, having not the best of nights this afternoon. As well, back up to the leaders where the fight's on, and you also got this one here between the 100th starter here this afternoon, Jason Lee, alongside Alexander Bueller. This is for 11th.
Yeah, these two also going at it. Very similar story, but with different drivers and just the subtle differences in their driving style. As Alex Bueller trying to find his way around Jason Lee. Don't know. I think either trying to bide his time and wait for a good opportunity or a mistake from Jason Lee. And Jason Lee just hasn't given him that opportunity yet, so they stay around a few tenths from each other.
Kyle Blevins will maintain that battle here as oh boy. Sean Nell and then John Combs both going around, and Combs briefly catching part of the meatball flight like you were mentioning, and that looks like it's actually stayed that way. And I see what you mean. Yeah, the tire kind of facing into the ground there, and he's gonna have to ding that off a wall somewhere.
Yeah, that or come in, which I don't think he wants to do. So, yeah, you can see it here, Ryan Verhulst and Sean Neyland
oh my goodness.
Wrapped up with each other.
And then there goes John Combs.
Yep.
Yikes.
Gets collected. Battle goes nowhere. You can always come back to it, and they are just continuing to try to find the time to get around each other.
You wonder if some of these guys are starting to save a little bit of fuel here as well, because I mean there hasn't been any actual looks for position for some time, and I wonder how much of it is not just not being able to get close, and how much of it is they're trying to save a little bit of fuel. What little slipstream these cars have.
I think that's a bit of the part of it. I think that's the plan, at least for Tyler Augustino, Jay Kasich, and Kyle Blevins, involves a little bit of fuel saving, just taking the opportunity there to lift, because they know if they can beat them in the pit cycle here, they'll end out in front of them which is, I think, part of the goal. However, I think Eric Ronenberg and Ron Wolf are still in a heated battle for the lead that has gone. I think it'll take, the pit cycle for that to swap again, or, a good run from Eric Ronenberg into one of the many braking zones, as well as maybe a mistake from Ron Wolf for that to change hands again.
So Wolf, Ronenberg, Augustino, Kasich, Blevins, 1 through 5. And another car off and around. That is Harrison, who has gone in hot into turn 2.
Missed the braking marker there. By the looks of it.
No, he
bounces off the inside.
Yeah, I told you sooner or later someone's going to cut that inside wall too tight, and, well, we just saw it there. Not in the way I thought it was going to be, but that's what happened. Oh, hold on. We got another car off the road right back there, and that's that.
Once again, Sean Nealon. Yeah.
Tough break. And that's incident points as well. He has now been caught with that.
Oh. A rough evening for his first night out.
Well, the battle for the lead is still showing no signs of slowing as Wolf, Ronenberg, Augustino continue to fight this one out almost halfway through, and these guys have been under a blanket from minute 1.
And they are still under a blanket. I think it'll be under a blanket for a good portion of this race. A few laps ago, they set their new best lap times. I'm wondering what else they can bring.
So far, fastest lap holder actually remains Giovanni Romano at 124.115. So while these drivers have been trying, they have not been able to get underneath a 124.4, which has been a spot of bother for these guys. They continue to try to fight it out and make ground. And I feel like a lot of that does have to do with them being so tightly packed together.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it for these drivers. Eric Ronenberg ending up behind Tyler Augustino. I wonder what happened there for him. Oh, he's peeling into pit road. I wonder if he was almost out of gas.
Could very well have been, right? And, I mean, I mentioned, right, these cars are not used to running races longer than about half an hour, and it looks like that's right on the money here as Clayton and Bright are in. In fact, a whole host of drivers going to get set to be coming on in here in the next little while. So pit stops officially underway for the first time.
Eric Ronenberg is out from his box after getting fuel only. Imagine we'll see the rest of the field probably coming in the next few laps as they get down to the end of their fuel stints. So I think the math was not terribly off.
Still half an hour to go before the end of this race. So right on board here with Kyle Blevins as time continues to move along. Once again, if you're curious on the World Series scoring and you wanted to watch them after cover your ears, but right now the score 5-1 into the 7th. Dodgers down by 4. The Toronto Blue Jays as this battle for the top 4 continues on. Kyle Blevins set to fight it out with Jay Kasich on the run down to turn 1. You're right on board. Neither driver in the battle for the top 4 coming down pit road this time.
None of those drivers. I have to imagine happening soon. Darren Bai as well as Jason Lee both going to dive in this time to get their pit stops done. Alex Cofford also joining those. So I'd have to imagine it's soon. I think they're all just trying to make sure they got to the halfway mark.
More cars in a pit road. Smith, by Lee, Zofer all into the box this time by, as is Alex Cofford.
Yeah, Jeremy Castro, Justin Hall, as well as Gabriel Gonzalez, Matthew Dupuis. I think a lot of the back half of the race drivers are in the process of trying to sort themselves into their boxes.
Oh, we may have just had a spin there in the middle of pit road.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who that was.
Believe was that
Castro.
It was Castro.
Yeah, Castro was, I think, either spun by Justin Hall. Look at this entry. You'll see the rear end kick out.
Yeah, that'll do it. Lucky not to get an unsafe pit entry or a speeding penalty pit road, and then he drove right across the nose and got hit.
Which is how he ended up so far around. Tyler Agostino, Jay Kasich, Ron Wolf, Austin Tucker, as well as Alexander Bueller diving in for their pit stops. Kyle Blevins, the only driver staying out from those top four for yet another lap.
Over halfway home, and the Code 69 is still nowhere in sight. As cars going to make their way back out onto the racetrack. And at this point, you pit, you're good to go to the end. So fuel is not going to be a question. It's a one-stopper.
That it certainly is. So for a couple of our drivers, they may have to do a little bit of fuel saving. Eric Ronenberg is one I'm almost a little worried about because he came in before the halfway mark for his pit stop. And if he didn't fuel it up all the way, he might be in trouble. But he might not, because he might have fueled it up all the way and then is good to go to the end. He does, however, get out ahead of Ron Wolf, who had a second slower pit lane, 2 seconds slower pit lane travel time, and 1 second slower in the box than Eric Ronenberg.
Expect to see Blevins coming in this time by. And that car's out of fuel. He pushed it too far.
Yeah.
Kyle Blevins is out of fuel. The car limping into pit road. He's just barely going to get in there, but it's a very slow pit road run, and thankfully his stall is right at the front, so he's able to get it in there. Talk about lucky, though, for Blevins, but that is easily going to that could easily cost them a spot in this fight for the top 5.
Absolutely. I think that'll drop him out of that battle that we were seeing, but that battle itself also pretty spread out as Tyler Agostino and Eric Ronenberg, really the only 2 cars even within a second of each other after the pit cycle. The rest of those drivers ending up pretty far apart, Jake Blevins included, but he's now been passed by Brooks Clayton after he tries to get out of the pit lane. Almost gets passed by Chris Bright.
Oh, he might be here still, because remember, he hasn't been able to get up to pace yet. Now he's able to get cleared, so Blevins will fight off Chris Bright, but that fight going to be now about a 10th and a half between the two. Justin Hall back here as well, slated to have a bit of a good run. Agostino and Ronenberg also remain tight with 1 and 2.
That'll be interesting to see if we get a Code 69, how that impacts, because it'll rebunch up the field. And I think we'll get back to the kind of group of cars we saw all chasing each other down at the front at the first half of this race. It'll make for some very interesting racing, I think, for the back half, if that's the case.
Looking like a lot of drivers have been able to finally figure out the Charlotte Roval right here, or at least this infield road course. We haven't seen too many in the way of single car spins in the last 10-15 minutes or so. There's not a lot of battles picking up either. A lot of drivers more running single file, like you say, a couple seconds between a good chunk of drivers in this field. You got 4/10 between the leaders, 3/10 between 6th and 7th. This fight here for 9th is still there. 17th, 18th within about half a second. So is 28th and 29th. But other than that, 6/10 or more for everybody down to the field. So looking like this might be a quiet ending unless you get a Code 69 now to shake things up.
Yeah, I'd say Code 69 would definitely bring this field back together and make for a very spicy ending to the race. I think it'll still take some pretty consistent driving out of Tyler Agostino to keep ahead of Eric Ronenberg. The lap times now a little more consistent with each other, but Tyler Agostino was running a little bit slower than Eric Ronenberg early on as we ride along board with him. So let's see if he has the pace to match it once again.
Again, about 4/10 of a second is what it extends up to. There's all the puff of smoke out of the exhaust as drivers lift out of the throttle in the higher gears. You can see what he's doing, right? He's trying to take a wider entry in so you can try to get some momentum on the way out of the corners, but he's not getting enough to really make a difference here.
I think it's one of those things where it's not changing enough for him in terms of the amount of speed he carries through the corner itself. It's enough to get back once again onto the gearbox of the car in front of him, but not enough to get around Tyler Augustino.
Well, they'll keep up the pressure at least. Not wanting to let him go. And I don't blame him, right? Keep putting on the pressure. Sooner or later, Augustino's going to make a mistake. I mean, that's the case with every driver, right? Once you can put, even the best drivers in the world, you pressure them enough for long enough, sooner or later, they're going to slip up. It's human nature. So I like what Ronenberg's doing. Like, even if you don't go for the overtake, stay in the mirrors. Fill them. Make sure he knows that you're there. And sooner or later, he's going to do something. He's going to spin. He's going to lock up. He's going to run a bit too wide, overshoot a braking marker. Well, something's going to happen sooner or later.
Absolutely. It is the thing. Keep applying the pressure. Make him drive defensively. That'll also, a byproduct of that, we'll also see maybe Ron Wolf as well as Jay Kasich end up back in this fight. But meanwhile, Kimo Gonzalez and Justin Hall running too wide throughout turns 4, 5, and 6 now, almost making contact there.
Justin Hall able to gather things up here with Gabriel Gonzalez. And Hall creeps back to the inside. Gonzalez still running behind this group, and it looks like that's a fight that has now settled itself. Still no look for position here in the battle for the top spot. A 4-car fight started to pick up, though, a bit deeper in the field here, Fen, because you've got Beckman, Vidal, Combs, and Verhulst for 27th through 30th.
That they're all scrapping it out for and hoping to make a little bit of pace here. John Combs trying to get around Todd Badol, forcing the 2 wide, which will probably bring this fight back into the sights of Ryan Verhulst, who has gone so wide but keeps it together. Fast hands as well as some smart thinking keeps that car going the right direction. Grass not a super kind thing to these Formula Vs, but thankfully also not a death sentence when you end up out there.
Agostino and Ronenberg remain 1 and 2, while Combs and Badol are going to go 2 by into turn number 1. And John Combs trying to make it run. Here we go. Fight for the lead is finally on as Eric Ronenberg attempting for the over-under into turn 1. He's going to try to get the power down and go back after him, but they were side by side there coming down the front straightaway into the opening corner.
Yeah, I think Eric Ronenberg has finally pushed the pressure to a breaking point. But I believe Agostino has managed to keep the pressure from getting to him too seriously.
Man, what a fight that these drivers are struggling with here as they continue to scrap it out. And they can't really push much harder than this, right? Because if they do, those cars are going to go around. I mean, there's not a lot keeping these things on the ground as of right now. And I'm sure the folks at home are loving watching this fight going back and forth. And there's other fights that are doing the same, right? Here's Kyle Brooks Clayton that started to become a very similar sight to see.
Yeah, Kyle Blevins that almost running out of fuel before the pit cycle, costing him pretty dearly, puts him behind Brooks Clayton, but now he has the pace to try to get around Brooks Clayton. The lap time's pretty interesting, about a whole second faster as Kyle Blevins sets his own personal best for the race. Puts some 2/10 here as they get out of turn number 14 and onto the start-finish stretch after the 15-16 bend. See if it's enough to get him alongside for turn number 1.
Well, Brooks Clayton going to continue as is Ronneberg, and no sign of any of these fights slowing down. And only 4 minutes before the Code 69 window draws to a close.
I think we may not see one this time. I think it'll be pretty cool if we do for one last shootout for all of these drivers, but I get the feeling as well it'll be a well-earned victory for Tyler if he's able to keep it, or Eric Ronneberg, really any of these drivers in the top 3. Ringo Harrison making his drive back, trying to get around Corey Barrett. I don't think he'll have the speed on the exit.
This is the fight for 15th place as Corey Barrett able to secure a run there around Harrison, but he's going to catch the wall, and that's going to allow Harrison to close. And just like that, he is going to seek to get around him, and he's not through. I thought for a moment he might have had him, but Corey Barrett fought him back.
Yeah, I think Ringo Harrison also played it a little safe. I think he chose not to try to force it too seriously. He's had, enough spins for one night to not want to get another driver super involved. Speaking of super involved, Eric Ronneberg trying to make the look down into turn number 3.
Oh, he's got him around the outside this time. Boy, I think that's
nice.
it. And there it is. Eric Ronneberg takes it around the long way of turn 2.
Ryan Verholst lap traffic had anything to do with it.
What this has done is this has reeled in Ron Wolf. This is a 3-way fight for the lead.
Code
now,
69 at the end of lap 30. I don't mean to cut you off.
My goodness. End of this lap, and this battle for the lead is going to be closed right back in, Fenn. This is going to be a wild restart because they're going to be restarting this race with probably only about 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, I would say between 10 and 15 minutes left on the clock when they get done with the Code 69. I have to imagine it'll be elbows out and no holds barred for any of these drivers trying to get to the top of the pile.
Ringo Harrison having it coming together with Corey Barrett here as Barrett swung it out wide, and Harrison spins out in sympathy, and nowhere for that one car in the midst of that fight to go. And there it is. Code 69 is now active, and it will be the only one of the night, because by the time this race restarts, well, it's going to be closed.
Yeah, it will be. I think this is what the top 5 were all looking for since the pit cycle spread them out so far, because they were so close in the opening half hour of this race. I got a feeling that we will see this pack of 5 basically drive similar to how we saw them in the first half. And I think it'll be interesting to see if Brooks Clayton or Austin Tucker manage to break into this pack of drivers as we get the closing stages here.
First and only slowdown and breakup of action here in Racing Action for round 3 of Beer League Silly Season. We'll be back with more in a moment on Green Flag TV. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Green flag back out of the Charlotte Motor Speedway, this time by as the field doubles up with the exit of the final chicane. Less than 15 minutes of racing to go, and the green flag officially out as Eric Ronenberg leads the pack down into turn number 1. And Finn, it's going to be a hotly contested final 12 minutes of racing.
Yes, it certainly will be. All those cars getting into action through turn number 3 here as we get onto the proper Roval side from that pit lane straight. Single file for these 5 drivers. I'm curious to see how they stack up. Justin Hall getting wrapped up in an incident there further back.
Overall, though, aside from that one spin near the tail of the field, looking like we are smooth sailing. Hold on, a few cars fanning out, going to go 3 wide. Back into the infield, and they get it back down to double. So no harm, no foul. Eric Ronenberg looked like he's about to pull out a bit of a gap here as Augustino fights his way around Wolf into the second place spot. Here comes Kyle Blevins trying to make a run into third.
Kyle Blevins on the hunt here from early on in his sprint win. Waiting for the opportunity here. And he is pit last, so he has the most fuel to take him to the end. Not that any of them, I think, are worrying about it after the code 69. But with just a little while to go, Alex.
Well, Eric Ronenberg right now is still maintaining the run to the head of the field here as Augustino, Wolf, Blevins, Kasich, and Moore remain in the battle here. Blevins catches the outside wall. That's going to drop him a spot or 2. And right now, you realistically have a group of 8 in a long train in this fight for the lead.
Yeah. Alexander Bueller. Oh gosh, there's a big old pile up into turn number 3.
And among those is Ringo Harrison, who is upside down.
Yeah, Chris Zofer spins out in front of him, and then Ringo Harrison getting flipped after running him over.
Well, there's the flip to get him back on all fours at least.
And that is done. Locks up the brakes here into the corner, crashes into the wall, and then over goes Ringo Harrison. Carson Catlin getting a little bit of air as well. Oh,
boy, that's it's quite a tumble there that they both took.
Mm-hmm.
And then seconds later, this is the hit that gets him right onto all 4 wheels, courtesy of Giovanni Romano, whose race is effectively over. So they figured, well, may as well lend a helping hand.
Absolutely. He understands that pain of getting flipped.
And Bueller has just lost it into the final chicane. So has Alex Crawford. Oh, dear. A big mess there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take another look at this one again as the field fights their way up and around, and right there, someone got run over. Oh,
Tom
man!
Newland. And that is what caused Alex Crawford to go flying as net, I think it was mostly net code, technically took him.
Oh, yeah, that is a hard lick into the outside wall. Well, the fight going to continue on here as you've got drivers running 1, 2, 3, and 4. Eric Ronenberg continues to lead the way. Augustino behind him. Then it's Wolf. running back in the third place spot as we continue to see drivers escalate in this battle for the lead that has been seeing drivers drop like flies.
See how they continue. Agostino having a little bit of unsettled pieces there.
Oh, and now up and over him and into the wall hard. Into turn one. Gonna go Ron Wolf.
You said seeing a few drivers get unceremoniously jettisoned from this battle for the lead.
Ay. That was real nasty what we just saw happen there. Take another look. And
a fraction of a hair too late on the brakes.
Oh my.
See those wheels collide.
You know, he's lucky that car didn't go tumbling, but the way it hopped over the wheels, that easily could have pitched him up and over. He could have gone cartwheeling over the K-rail, but car slams back down and they go sliding into it instead. And all they can say to the crash wasn't actually as bad as we initially thought it was, but boy, when you see a car hop into the air like that, it looks like it's going to be big.
It looks like it's going to be big, and either way, it's super concerning, especially if you're the driver that's either impacted or, you know, the one that's going up because of the wheels making contact, and you're always like, what's happening? You kind of get into that fight or flight mentality loosely and try to figure out what to do next.
Well, Jason Lee and Corey Barrett going at it here in the fight for ninth place, and around goes Ron Wolf again, and this time he's going to take Alexander Bueller with him. Oh, hold on, and we're not done yet as cars arriving on side, and then Bueller's going to end up taking the tow.
Yep. Alex
and we're still not done.
Into that.
Oh, Ron Wolf turned again from nothing of his own doing. I mean, that dude cannot catch a break.
No, he cannot. I'm trying to see what happened. Oh, I see. Ryan Verhulst gets bumped into by Darren Bai, who's trying to get around Ron Wolf.
And all of this will take us to 6 minutes to go. Ryan Verhulst has been given a drive-through penalty for hitting the incident limit.
Battle for the top three, I think, is going to come down to the final couple laps. And if Jake Kasich finds his way around Tyler Agostino in the closing stages here.
Have to agree, as well, the fight going to keep up for 5 more minutes. That's going to be what, 3-4 laps or so thereabouts?
I believe 3, including the one we're on now. Also, point of order, Tyler Agostino, Jake Kasich, Kyle Blevins, Austin Tucker, all setting their fastest lap times this most recent time by...
Oh, boy.
That looked really close.
Yeah, Ryan Verhulst having a bit of a shake-up there as here comes... Oh, man, Stefan Purcell having a good run at it.
Yep.
Oh, and now one more car sliding it out sideways. And that's Castro, who was able to have a great catch as Chris Flams has spun himself around.
Chris Flams less lucky in that moment. Oh, sorry, Sean Nealon. That was it.
Take a look back here at Castro as this is going to be coming up and around to out of turn 6, I think this is here. As too much curb slides and keeps it off the K-rail.
Nicely done. Avoids running into the car in front of him.
Oh, and a big crash!
No. Oh.
Eric Ronenberg hard into the turn 2 wall. And that is disaster in the battle for the race lead, making it a 2-way fight to Casey and Agostino, but that breaks up the fight big time.
It also brings Kyle Blevins back into it, as well as Austin Tucker, who have also kept up the pace.
Right on board here with Jake Kasich, who steals the lead away as a result of this. Just took too much speed in and just slips through to steal the lead.
Eric Rottenberg sliding as those tires, I think, are a little done with driving for an hour straight with no brakes.
Well, it's always a point of contention, right, with this car. It's like, do you actually brake or do you just lift? Because oftentimes braking is what sends the car pitching into a spin because of the violent weight shift forward. Oftentimes it's better to just kind of lift out of the throttle.
It is much like we talk about this car being a momentum car alongside the MX-5s. You use it to rotate. You don't use it to really brake, except for if you're going into like a hairpin or a spot where you actually need to slow the car down, like you said, because of how violent that weight shift is, because the suspension is largely there for show. It's a lot easier just to lift, like you say, maybe apply a little bit for the rotation, and then just ride it out and get on the throttle again once you're clear of it.
Aye. Big hit there for Ben Williams at the back.
Yeah, Darren Bai also wrapped up in that.
Yep. Take a look back, and he's going to get turned.
In there. Yeah, gets turned by, I believe, Justin Hall there.
Takes out another driver, and it's on. And all of this is going to take this field to 1 to go. This time by, it'll end up being a 41-lap race.
That it will. And I think it'll be a pretty spicy final lap as they're coming back around.
Tyler Augustino continuing to get ahead going here.
Takes the look, doesn't send it.
Not yet, but he's there. He's ready to party.
And he is, alongside Kyle Blevins, who's right behind these two.
Kasich, Augustino, Blevins going to continue to get a momentum run going here as Jake Kasich holding on 0.3 of a second. Does Tyler Augustino have enough to run him down in the final few corners? A puff of smoke as Kasich seeks to disrupt Augustino's run. I don't think the 69 car is going to be close enough. He's going to go for it here into the final corner, but he's going to be in too hot, and he's losing ground as they enter the final straightaway. Through turns 15 and 16, Jake Kasich will come home, and he wins at America's Home for Motorsports.
And Tyler Agostino coming home second alongside Kyle Blevins in third. Austin Tucker making a great drive up from where he started, I believe, in 23rd. Ends up in fourth.
As one by one, cars come across the line, and one driver, Kyle Smith, going to get turned out of the final corner. And he's just going to gun it into reverse here to try to get that car across the line as quickly as possible. He's going to lose less time this way as opposed to getting the car turned back around. Castro going to spin across the line, and that looks like it might be it for the dramas of drivers coming across.
The rest of the field slowly making their way across. Last battle between drivers coming to a close.
Boy, what a brawl that we had here tonight. I mean, that race was, frankly, stellar.
I would have to agree. I'm super looking forward to seeing where we go next with these cars on the 6th and 9th weeks of this race, of the season, excuse me. Because it's, I think, while a great learning car. Also one of the cars that people have a lot of experience with. It's also something that you can lean back on experience in other cars to really refine racecraft here. So it ends up making for tight battles all throughout the whole grid. Good stuff all around.
Well, we can now take a rundown of our official post results here this afternoon from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's Jake Kasich coming home by a quarter of a second ahead of Tyler Augustino. Kyle Blevins walks away in third. Austin Tucker back in fourth. Then Morris rounds out the top five. Clayton, Bright, Ronneberg, Lee, and John Combs close out the top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be Alex King, Corey Barrett in 12th, Ron Wolf, Stephen Purcell, Greg Beckman rounding out the top 15, Giovanni Romano, a fantastic recovery drive, Matthew Dupuis, Kyle Smith, Tyler Carlton, and Evan Campbell are your top 20.
Back to 30th, it's going to be Castro, Hall, Zofer, Harrison, Close, Murphy, By, Williams, Gonzalez, and Madole.
31st is going to be Alex Cofford, Adam Joseph Mailhot, Ethan Kahn, Carson, Catlin, Sean Nealon, and Ryan Verhulst are your 36 drivers to take the checkered flag. Alexander Bueller, Chris Flams, Steve McFinden, and Jordan Babcock all do not finish, with the last two not even starting our feature race.
Boy, what if I hear that we had this afternoon, and that is going to allow us to jump back and give a chit-chat in here with the drivers that finished this race, numbers 1, 2, and 3 here this afternoon. And we'll look to, of course, kick things off first and foremost with the race winner here this afternoon. It's Jake Kasich coming home number 1. And Jake, I got to be honest, it's a little hard to believe that this is only the third time that we are talking to you here on the top step of the podium. With how many times you've been on the podium, I thought you would have gotten more wins by now. But hey, win number 3 comes in at Charlotte at one of the RZ's more unusual and lesser used track layouts. Walk us through it.
Yeah, I have to say it was a really fun race. You know, I tried to really fuel save in the first stint, and it didn't seem like it really worked because everyone sort of still jumped me, and there was a big gap. So I was just really hoping for that safety car at the end there. And when that Code 69 came out, slowed everything down, got us close, I knew I could race with the pack. And then, you know, from there, it was just trying to make good and smart decisions. You know, it's really unfortunate what happened to both Ron and to Eric. They both had some bad luck right at the end there that kind of made it maybe less of a competitive battle and kind of lucked me into first rather than having me kind of pass people to get it. But, you know, overall, it was a really good race, and these cars are so much fun.
A significant challenge, though, right? I mean, you go from having the Lucas Oil Pro 2 light trucks, which they can slide around, right? They can beat and bang, they can go off-road, no problem. Then you go to pretty much the polar opposite, right? Formula Vs that are super fragile. They are very temperamental. They don't like to be overdriven, much like the Pro 2 trucks do. They don't slide at all. You can't save them. You can't make contact. I mean, how do you adjust the mentality from one week to the next like that?
You know, I think that's what makes this season so great is every single one of these cars is, you know, completely different to drive. You have to have a completely different kind of sense of touch with them. And, you know, going from the Pro 2s to the Formula Vs it's tough. You know, they both kind of react the same under braking where they want to kind of snap out a little bit if you're lifting off too early or braking too much. But other than that, they're completely different. And, you know, you can't do your wheel-to-wheel racing as much. So you just have to, like, in practice, take some time and really think about, you know, what the car is like, what your space in the car is like, and then go from there.
Well, so far, you were 7th at the championship entry race in action here tonight. Do you reckon a title bid is on the cards for you with the trucks coming up next week for the NASCAR stuff?
You know, I sure hope so. My beer league career so far has been a litany of ups and downs, so I hope I can keep it kind of on the ups. I've been in the top 10 every race so far, so if I can keep that up, I think there's a good chance at it.
All right, we'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing once again. Congratulations, Jake, on taking home win number 3 of your beer league career, and we'll see you next time out.
Thank you.
Jake Case comes home number 1 this afternoon, and Fan, you're going to be able to catch up with the second place runner, Tyler Augustino, who also got into it when Ronneberg went hard into the wall.
That he did. Tyler Augustino, welcome to the podium. A fantastic race results. Were you expecting the spin out of Eric Ronneberg there at the end?
No, I got very wide-eyed when I saw him start to get kind of sideways because I think all of us were sort of pushing it a little bit more into that corner every lap. And, you know, I think I started a little target fixation maybe and then just drove straight into the side of him. And ended up exactly where I started, in second place, 8/10 behind the car in front of me and behind a guy that I couldn't really get around. But yeah, no, honestly, it was a fun race, and even without that incident, I think I still drove pretty well. No major mistakes, so I was pretty happy with it.
Say it seemed like you had a very consistent lap time that seemed to improve over the course of the evening. The safety car, was that Code 69 there, was that something you were looking forward to or dreading as the race dragged on?
No, I mean, the longer it went on, the more I was starting to panic about it, because I typically don't have very good restarts. I got lucky this time, but the last couple of cars we've been racing with, I've just gone straight backwards on the restarts. And I was worried that was going to happen this time. That was going to cost me a chance at the podium, or better yet, the win. But no, once I got a halfway decent jump, picked the right gear. I wasn't sure if it was going to be second or third, and just got straight down to the inside as quick as I could, and luckily was able to close it off and make something decent out of it.
Fantastic stuff. We go back to the NASCAR trucks next week. Are you looking forward to those?
Yeah, I thought they were pretty fun. I think the racing is a little different from what we're used to, so yeah, it's enjoyable. This has been a fun season, liking the rotation.
Absolutely. Anything else we missed before we let you get back to your podium celebrations?
No, props to everybody else on the podium, and yeah, it was great racing up at the front.
Awesome. Fantastic stuff. Well, we hope to see you again next week when we get back to racing here. That is Tyler Agostino, who comes home P number 2. Thank you again.
And that's going to bring us on down to Kyle Blevins, the driver that finishes his race off in third. Kyle, a stellar outing for you here today as you walk away with a sprint race win, and that follows up with a third place in the main event. So a lot of points on the cards for you exiting today.
Yeah, it was a hard race. I'm definitely a little sweaty after that one.
Kind of walk us through it, because, I mean, so far the season for you, it's been a bit up and down. You've had some highs and lows. This is definitely the high moment so far.
Yeah, this is definitely my best finish, but it's also a Formula car. I usually do a little better in this. But yeah, it was just really hard to pass. You kind of had to, like, pressure people to almost make mistakes to make any passes. So up front, it was really tight. It was really just a game of don't screw up your exits, and you're going to hold your spot.
Coming on up next week, it's back to the NASCAR trucks. The whole rotating cars every week is definitely something unusual. How are you going to get in the mindset to tackle the highest horsepower beast we're driving this season?
I never do ovals or oval cars, so I missed that first one, so it'll be interesting trying to drive one of those.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck next week regardless, and we will hopefully talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Kyle Blevins comes home third this afternoon, and Fen, that's going to do it then for our post-race interviews here this afternoon. Another great outing here this afternoon, and, well, the next race is just around the corner.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see when we get back to the NASCAR trucks what drivers are taken back into it as they get into these championship fights, as well as when we figure out where we're going next week. On Wednesday. I think that'll also put a pretty interesting spin on wherever we end up.
Well, before we get to all of that, there is still more action still yet to come here on Green Flag TV. When we go racing next, it's going to be out at the Speed Cup Series at Avondale, Arizona once more. And alongside them, it's, of course, going to be the Zero Turn Racing League, who is normally on Fridays. They are off this week for Halloween. SRA is back at Daytona for the Super Speedway Blitz. And while Mars is at Roval, it's going to be an Auto Club triple header. Blaze Motors Arca Series swings out to Fontana on Sunday. Behind Time Racing League for race number 2 on Monday. And the OMS Gold Series for a 13-point deficit finale at the Auto Club Speedway on Tuesday afternoon. If you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. My name is Little Rempel, alongside Fennicini. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you all next time when we go racing in the Beer League.